Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 32, Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Text, we started these texts 34 through 36, and we'll continue with that discussion. So in the purport, second paragraph onwards, Prabhupada says, the words Bhakti Yogena Chaiva Hi mean that whatever is to be performed as described in verse 34, whether yoga or sacrifice or fruitive activity or study of Vedic literature or philosophical research or acceptance of the renounced order of life, is to be executed in Bhakti Yoga. The words Chaivahi, according to Sanskrit grammar, indicate that one must perform all these activities mixed with devotional service. Otherwise, such activities will not produce any fruit. Any prescribed activity must be performed for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yat Karoshi Yadashnashi. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, whatever austerities you undergo, and whatever charities you give, the result should be given to the Supreme Lord. Or basically, it must be done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. The word eva is added, indicating that one must execute activities in such a way. Unless one adds devotional service to all activities, he cannot achieve the desired result. But when Bhakti Yoga is prominent in every activity, then the ultimate goal is sure. So, Bhakti Chai in the shloka comes. So basically, this is what Lord Kapil Dev is saying, and this is what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, that everything should be done for the pleasure of Krishna. And as soon as we try to do it for ourselves, then we get entangled in the karma bandhan. Then we'll definitely get karma bandhan. Because ultimately everything comes from Krishna. The body that we have, every element is coming from Krishna. He is the Rishikesha. He is the Lord of the senses. And then still he gives us an option. Independence is still there, that we can use these senses for our pleasure, but then we get entangled. It's so simple. One has to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita. After many, many births, one approaches the Supreme Person, Krishna, and surrenders unto him, knowing that he is everything. Also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Bhoktaram Yakitapsam. For anyone who is undergoing rigid austerity, or for anyone performing different kinds of sacrifices, the beneficiary is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the proprietor of all planets, and he is a friend of every living soul. So it's not like he wants us to be like slaves, that he enjoys putting us into trouble. No. When he says, do austerities, you do it for me. Charities, you do for me, otherwise you'll get entangled. And this is saying, because I am your best friend. So best friend means he will not let us down, no matter what, he will not let us down. For anyone who is undergoing rigid austerity, the beneficiary is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So keeping that in mind, otherwise we do the sacrifices or austerities for ourselves, just like all the asuras, whether it is Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Kumbhakarna, anybody else, they always do it for themselves, for their pleasure, to get some power, to get some siddhis, so they can enjoy better in the material world. That's the whole idea. behind the asuras doing all these austerities. But ultimately, the whole program is a failure for them. There's never happened that they're going to win forever. For some time, yes, um, because austerities are very powerful, whatever they've done, and the blessings they get are very powerful. But it's temporary. Still, it is temporary. The words dharmeno bhaya chinena mean that the bhakti yoga process contains two symptoms, namely attachment for the Supreme Lord and detachment from all material affinities. There are two symptoms of advancement in the process of devotional service, just as there are two processes taking place while eating. A hungry man feels a strength and satisfaction from eating, and at the same time he gradually becomes detached from eating anymore. Similarly, with the execution of devotional service, real knowledge develops and one becomes detached from all material activities. In no other activity but devotional service is there such detachment from matter and attachment for the Supreme. There are 9 different processes to increase this attachment to the Supreme Lord: hearing, chanting, remembering. These are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, all these 9 processes. The processes for increasing detachment from material affinities are explained in verse 36. So all these processes are there. Dharmenobhya chinena means to increase our attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all these processes, Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaran, Vasyam, Vaishnavam, Dasam, Sakyam, Nivedana. So they increase our attachment. It's just we have to continue doing all these activities. One can achieve elevation to the higher planetary systems like the heavenly kingdom by executing one's prescribed duties and by performing sacrifices. When one is transcendental to such desires because of accepting the renounced order of life, he can understand the Brahman feature of the Supreme. And when one is able to see his real constitutional position, he sees all of the processes and becomes situated in the stage of pure devotion service. At that time, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. So when one goes beyond all this kind of process to attain higher heavenly kingdom, then he goes beyond, and then he understands Brahman feature, then beyond that Paramatma feature. Ultimately, by pure devotion service, he understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Bhagwan feature, and that is a perfection of one's devotional service. Understanding of the Supreme Person is called Atma Tattva Avabodhena, which means understanding of one's real constitutional position. If one actually understands one's constitutional position, so constitutional position means the real position, the Swarupa of the soul. Means that which cannot be changed, that which is intrinsic with the soul. If one actually understands one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, he becomes detached from the service of the material world. Everyone engages in some sort of service. If one does not know one's constitutional position, one engages in the service of his personal gross body or his family, society, or country. But as soon as one is able to see his constitutional position, the word Swadrik means one who is able to see. He becomes detached from such material service and engages himself in devotional service. So obviously this is going to happen. But so long as we think I'm this body, I'm Indian or I'm Pakistani, I'm male or I'm female, I'm Punjabi or I'm Gujarati and I'm this or I'm that, then we will keep on working on the activities related to this body. will only work on those activities. And this is what everybody is doing. Even the animals, birds, everybody is doing the same thing. They think there's this body, and to give pleasure to this body is the ultimate goal of life. But when one understands this is not who am I, then definitely he becomes detached from such material active services because he doesn't want to do this. The body is just an instrument for the soul to carry on activities, and better those activities be for the pleasure of Krishna. That's all. As long as one is in the modes of material nature and is performing the duties prescribed in the scriptures, he can be elevated to higher planetary systems, where the predominating deities are material representations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like the Sun God, the Moon God, the Air God, Brahma, and Lord Shiva. All the different demigods are material representations of the Supreme Lord. By material activities, one can approach only such demigods as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Devavrata Devan. Those who are attached to the demigods and who perform the prescribed duties can approach the abodes of the demigods. In this way, one can go to the planet of the Pitas or forefathers. Similarly, one who fully understands the real position of his life adopts devotional service and realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one who's in bodily concept of life, definitely he would want more and more material comforts, material opulences for the body. So for that he pleases or he prays to all the different demigods, and then he can go to the planets of the demigods. Or he can go to the planets of Pitas or forefathers. But one who understands his real position, adopts devotional service, then he can go to the planet of the Supreme Lord. And the advantage of going to the spiritual world is one does not come back again to the material world. So these three verses, of course, there are many other topics that Prabhupada just decided to describe a few, because all of the points are discussed some other places in Bhagavatam as well. Prabhocham bhakti yogasya swarupam te chaturvidham kalasya cha vyakta gate yo antar dhavati jantushu. My dear mother, I have explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. I have explained to you as well how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them. The process of bhakti yoga or devotional service is the main river flowing down towards the sea of the absolute truth. And all other processes mentioned are just like tributaries. Lord Kapila is summarizing the importance of the process of devotional service. Bhakti yoga, as described before, is divided into 4 divisions, 3 in the material modes of nature and 1 in transcendence, which is untinged by the modes of material nature. Devotional service mixed with the modes of material nature is a means for material existence, whereas devotional service without desire for fruitive result and without attempts for empirical philosophical research is pure transcendental devotional service. So devotional service is in 4 divisions, Prabhupada says, 3 in the modes of nature. So devotional service in mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness that we studied earlier. And then there is devotional service which is pure, it is beyond the 3 modes. And when it is not mixed with the 3 modes and no desire for karma or jnana, it doesn't mean that we don't try to study scriptures. Prabhupada gives so many scriptures. He spent so much time to give the purpose, the commentaries for us to understand properly. But this jnana is part of devotional service. This is considered shravana, hearing. The jnana that Prabhupada is talking about in this purport is empirical, philosophical research to try to study more than one can assimilate, and for the purpose of not serving, but for the purpose of maybe getting some prestige that I have so much of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to serve Krishna. Purpose of knowledge is to become humble and serve Krishna. If that is not achieved by the philosophical research, then we have missed the purpose. Then it is only shushka gyan, dry knowledge, dry philosophy. Just like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he in his this lifetime, he appeared as a grain merchant, and he couldn't even read or write his name. He was that illiterate. But he is considered a Babaji or a devotee of such a caliber that Bhakti Vinod Thakur asked his son Bimla Prasad to go and take initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And Bimla Prasad, or later he became Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was an encyclopedia, walking, talking encyclopedia of all the scriptures. He knew languages, so many languages, he knew scriptures, he knew astrology, he knew astronomy, and so much of knowledge that he had. And he was told to take initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Because the scriptural knowledge is good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but that is not the criteria of bhakti. It's a good criteria, good to have, to preach to others, to defeat others, but that's not the criteria for bhakti. And Bimla Prasad, he went many times to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj for initiation. Babaji Maharaj would refuse every time, citing different excuse. So finally, when Bimla Prasad said, I'm going to commit suicide, I'm going to jump in Ganges and commit suicide if you don't give me initiation. Then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj gave him. And he said, okay, you are the only disciple, I'm not going to accept any other disciple. Because Babaji Maharaj would say that I'm not qualified to accept other disciples. But he was a devotee of such a caliber that Bhakti Vinod Thakur asked his son to take initiation from him. So knowledge is important, jnana is very important. That's why Prabhupada wrote all these books. But if they help us in make advancement in bhakti, otherwise there's no need. Jivasya samsritir bhaver avidya karma nirmita yasvan praveshan atma na ved gatim atmana. There are varieties of material existence for the living entity, according to the work he performs in ignorance or forgetfulness of his real identity. My dear mother, if anyone enters into that forgetfulness, he is unable to understand where his movements will end. Once one enters into the continuation of material existence, it's very difficult to get out. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes himself, who sends his bona fide representative, and he leaves behind scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam so that the living entities hovering in the darkness of nescience may take advantage of the instructions, the saintly persons and the spiritual masters, and thus be freed. Unless a living entity receives the mercy of the saintly persons, the spiritual master or Krishna, it is not possible for him to get out of the darkness of material existence. By his own endeavor, it is not possible. So Lord Kapila is saying, once one enters this material existence, this three modes of material nature and the material world made of Mahatattva, we don't know where we're going to end up. It's so difficult, so entangling. And that is why Krishna either comes himself to take us out, sends his representatives, leaves the books here, just so that we can take advantage of all these items and take advantage or take shelter of a guru who can engage us in the service of Krishna, and we can get out of it. Just imagine, it's like if the government makes a prison house outside the city and the prisoners are kept, but the Prime Minister goes to that prison house and he takes some officials with him and he takes a manual with him on how to get out of the jail, and he leaves the manuals over there. It's not that he's stupid, it's that he's very merciful. He doesn't like, he cannot see people or prisoners suffering in the prison house. And he takes his representatives who stay back and they teach the prisoners how to get out. Instead of keeping them there, the idea is to rectify them and take him out of the jail. So that's the mercy of Krishna. That's his compassion. Not that eternally you are going to suffer in hell or burn in hell or rot in hell. There's no such thing as eternal hell or eternal heaven. Only eternal is the spiritual world. And that's the place where we cannot enter without getting completely qualified to enter. Netat khalayo padeshan navi nitai karhichit nastabdhaya na bhinnaya nav dharma dhvajaya cha. Lord Kapila continued, this instruction is not meant for the envious, for the agnostics, or for persons who are unclean in their behavior, nor is it for hypocrites or for persons who are proud of material possessions. Na lolu payo padishena griha rud chetase na bhaktaya chame jatu na madbhaktu dvisham api. It is not to be instructed to persons who are too greedy and are too attached to family life, nor to persons who are non-devotees and who are envious of the devotees and the personality of Godhead. Persons who are always planning to do harm to other living entities are not eligible to understand Krishna consciousness and cannot enter into the realm of transcendental loving service to the Lord. Also, there are so-called disciples who become submissive to spiritual master most artificially, with an ulterior motive. They also cannot understand what Krishna conscious or devotion service is. Persons who, due to being initiated by another sect of religious faith, do not find devotion service as a common platform for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. We have experienced that some students come to join us, but because of being biased in some particular type of faith, they leave our camp and become lost in the wilderness. Actually, Krishna consciousness is not a sectarian religious faith. It's a teaching process for understanding the Supreme Lord and our relationship with Him. Anyone can join this movement without prejudice, but unfortunately, there are persons who feel differently. It is better, therefore, not to instruct the science of Krishna consciousness to such persons. Generally, materialistic persons are after some name, fame, material gain, and so if someone takes to Krishna consciousness, for these reasons, he will never be able to understand this philosophy. Such persons take to religious principles as a social decoration. They admit themselves into some cultural institution for the sake of name only, especially in this age. Such persons also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Even if one is not greedy for material possessions, but is too attached to family life, he also cannot understand Krishna consciousness. Superficially, such persons are not very greedy for material possessions, but they're too attached to wife, children, and family improvement. When a person is not contaminated by the above mentioned faults, yet at the ultimate issue is not interested in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or if he is a non-devotee, he also cannot understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So who are too greedy for any material prospects, too attached to family life, persons who are not devotees and who are envious of the devotees, they all cannot understand. So our purpose is to preach to everybody. We don't wait to meet somebody who's none of these and then we preach. No, even we ourselves, we have so many faults. But the point is, okay, we preach, we try to bring people to the right platform to whatever extent they can. So whatever bhakti they do, whether it is bhakti or it is only pious activity. Same chanting of Hare Krishna can be a pious activity done with different consciousness. But we try to give everybody this process. So in the process, we also become purified. But those who have all these qualities, it's just very difficult for them to make progress. Especially when they become envious of the devotees and the personality of Godhead. This enviousness is the one that brought us to the material world. And this enviousness is the quality that will keep us in the material world for a long time to come. So all we have to do is engage purely in the devotional service and try to see ourselves, if I have these or some other anarthas in my heart, and how can I remove those anarthas? Being too attached to family life. Now everybody in this forum is a Grihastha. So it doesn't mean we don't take care of the family tomorrow and we're going to just leave the house and go to Vrindavan or some other place. No, we take care of the family, but understanding they all are servants or devotees of Krishna. So my duty is to take care of them properly because this is my service to Krishna. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pradam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the lovely class. I have a question. You have mentioned about Navada Bhakti, 9 types of Bhakti. So I just wanted to know any distinctive difference between Pada Sevanam, Archanam and Vandanam. It looks to be similar. So Can you
See,
explain?
Archanam is doing the worship, Arti. Vandanam is to sing the glories, or doing puja, or sing the glories. And Pad Sevanam is basically doing any or every service. It could be like dressing the deity, cooking for the deity, or cleaning the temple. Any service comes under Pad Sevanam.
And Archanam, what did you say, Prabhuji?
Doing the worshipping the deity.
Okay. Okay, Archanam is specifically only worshipping the deity, and Padasevanam is doing all kinds of bhakti services.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Srila